What could a Logan Gilbert extension look like? We'll answer that and more coming up here on Mailbag Monday. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, March 17th, 2025. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. So it is time to open up the mailbag like we do here every Monday and answer some of your Mariners questions. Dower Optimist wants to know any thoughts on Miles Mastrobuoni and Ryan Bliss. They seem like the most likely last two guys on the roster, plus Rowdy Tellez if Haniger starts on the IL. Mastrobuoni has only whiffed twice this spring, and both of them have generally hit the ball hard consistently. I don't consider Ryan Bliss to be one of the last guys. I think he's won the second base job. And so that puts Dylan Moore back into, assuming that that's true, into the role that you would prefer him to be in, which is as the team's primary utility man. And so from that standpoint, you don't need someone like Miles Mastrobuoni if you don't want him. It really just comes down to how much are the Mariners willing to deploy whichever player fills in that roster spot. Now, if they only plan on using that roster spot once a week, then yeah, throw in Mastrobuoni on there, Samad Taylor, whoever, some player that you don't care if he only gets, maybe 2 to 3 plate appearances a week, right? But if you plan on using that spot more, then I would think like Dominic Canzone, Tyler Locklear, Austin Shenton, someone like that would be a better fit for that spot. Someone with more upside, someone that you'd like to see a bit more at the major league level. The Tellez thing is interesting because, like you mentioned, there's a possibility here that Haniger starts the year on the IL. He's got shoulder discomfort going on right now. Maybe this is the writing on the wall of what's going to happen here with Haniger, and maybe the Mariners are actually going to choose to move on. We'll see. But he hasn't been in the lineup the last few days with the shoulder issue. If that lingers into the regular season, then yeah, I mean, like as we talked about with TJ and Lyle last week, that's the only way that we could see Rowdy Tellez on this roster is if Haniger is not on it. So maybe the lineup that we saw today, minus the Julio subtraction because he's sick, maybe that's the opening day lineup right there with Tellez as the DH. So we'll see. That's a really interesting piece to this, but yeah, I think Bliss has won the second base job.
Yeah, seems likely. Dan talked the other day about, how they have 8-9 more games to go and it's still an open competition, but Bliss is playing with the regulars more often. He's in the opening day lineup today. I think he's going to win that job. So Dylan Moore is going to be on the bench. And yeah, I mean, basically if Haniger doesn't get into a game in the next day or two, there's a 0% shot he's going to be ready for opening day. He just won't have enough time to get the reps in that he needs to get in, and he'll hit the IL. And if that happens, then I would assume Tellez is also going to make the opening day roster. But that would leave one roster spot open when Haniger hits the IL.
And we should mention that they have to make a decision on Tellez soon here. The first of, I believe, 3 deadlines that he has over the next 2 months is coming up on March 23rd for him to potentially opt out of his contract. So,
right. And the Mariners do have an open spot on their 40-man with the DFA of Seth Martinez. So, yeah, it seems likely they'll probably add him, at which point he'll be owed $1.5 million. So, yeah, he'll probably be the opening day DH or first baseman. We'll see how the Mariners want to deploy him against left-handed pitching. They'll face lefties in both game 2 and 3. So we'll see how much he plays. So, yeah, what do you do with that last bench spot? You have Dylan Moore, who kind of covers a lot of the holes. You have Garber and you have Solano on the bench. And all three of those guys are probably going to play game 2 and game 3 in some role or whatever. So what do you do with that fourth spot? You know, versatility, because you have Dylan Moore, it probably helps. I don't think you want to anchor that spot down with another corner infield only type. So I don't really see Austin Shenton making a lot of sense here.
Sure.
But
Or
could
Locklear.
somebody, or Locklear, but could somebody like Mastroboni make sense? He's having a nice spring. You kind of want to, reward him. Fine. He also runs pretty well. He's a good base runner. Can obviously play multiple spots. So he kind of, get you out of some tight jams. But if you're just looking for like speed and you don't care about, you don't care about like, he's going to play once a week, then Samad Taylor's probably the right guy for this spot. Wouldn't rule out the possibility they trade for somebody though. Just keep that in the back of your mind. We are getting to the point where guys who are out of options are going to be DFA'd or traded, or they're going to be stuck on a roster. So keep an eye out for that. But I do think that ultimately Mastroboni makes a lot of sense here. I don't think it's going to be Canzone. I don't think it's going to be Shenton. I think the Mariners are going to want those guys to play a lot in case they need them later on in the year. So I think those guys are headed to AAA. Same with Locklear. I think that last spot is going to be Mastroboni, Rivas, or Samad Taylor. And of those three, I really don't have a strong preference. But
I think to me, of those three, it just comes down to what the best tool is. And to me, that's Samad's run.
Yeah. I mean, do you want a left-handed bat on the bench? Because right now you have three righties and Samad's a righty. And Mastroboni's a lefty. So is that going to make a big difference? I don't know. Probably not. If you need a big home run or, you're probably going to Garver. Like he's probably right or left. You're probably hoping that he runs into one. So yeah, we'll see what they do with that last spot. Again, wouldn't rule out a trade, but I do think it's going to be between Miles, Rivas, and probably somebody like Samad Taylor, because I don't think the Mariners really see obviously long-term future with any of those guys. So they're only going to get, 15 at-bats in the first month. They don't really care.
Yeah. So if they see a much larger role for that roster spot, then I would like to see them take a shot on someone with more upside. But again, if that's a, once, maybe twice a week type of role for that roster spot, then Mastroboni is fine. Samad Taylor would be the preference, but Rivas as well, could also fit in there.
I mean, maybe they want to carry a third catcher. I don't know why they would, but like Blake Hunt could be a guy here. And then I'll just throw out a name that might be available via trade here. Eggy's out there, man. He's out of options. He is. Yeah. Yes, he's out of options. He'll probably make that team. I don't think they're just going to give up on him, but as we know, he's not going to play much because he's blocked everywhere in the infield. So keep an eye out on Eggy Rosario. I think that'd be a fun little ad and kind of feels like a Mariner type of guy.
All right. Next question comes from D. Panky. What player or two are you most curious to see how Dan Wilson handles this year as far as playing time, especially if they are struggling and clearly hurting the team? I mean, the one obvious answer here would be Mitch Haniger, but again, we'll see what's going on with the shoulder thing and if he's actually going to be a part of this or not. Jorge Polanco is the other obvious answer here. And this is more so like beyond April and May. Like if things are just really not going well for them, like how long are they going to stick by him, specifically at third base? Anyone else come to mind, or is it just Polanco and potentially Haniger?
Yeah. I think I would say that ignoring the second part of the question, I'm interested to see how they handle Mitch Garver. How much is he going to play? Is he just going to hit against lefties? Again, I would really like to give him opportunities against righties and lefties, but you're going to bench Rayleigh, you're going to bench Tellez. Tellez is the obvious answer there, but whatever. What are you going to do there? So I'm interested to see how much is he going to catch, how much is he going to DH. So Garver's an interesting one. And then I think, Ryan Bliss, how much of a leash is he going to get to go out there and struggle? And because Demo, well, he's been awful this spring. I think he's literally 1 for 30. He is the veteran. You can count on the glove. He's going to hit for power. He's going to strike out. He's going to walk. You know who Dylan Moore is.
How many times have we seen Dylan Moore go 1 for 30 over a stretch?
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
Probably a lot.
Like I don't have the specifics, and maybe it's not specifically 1 for 30, but still, like he's had these stretches over the 6 years that he's been here.
Right. And then he'll have 2 weeks where he's like 14 for 34 with 4 homers and all that. Mm-hmm. So,
so I'm not concerned about it if you're curious about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Ryan Bliss and Mitch Garver are the 2 guys that I'm looking at here. And then obviously Polanco, but Dan's probably a little tied, like hands tied with Polanco. Like he is the third baseman. You don't really have a better option on your roster right now. So I really don't think that's much of a decision that he gets to make. I do. Whereas Garver and Bliss, I do think that he has more control over that decision. So yeah. And then obviously Haniger, if and when he's healthy, we probably already have an answer to that. They didn't play him at all last year, in September, and he hasn't played at all this spring. So feels like they have their answer there, and Dan doesn't get to decide DFAs. So for me, Polanco Garver and Bliss are really interesting guys.
Sure. All right, so we are going to answer more of your questions in just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by both wonderful Pistachios and, once again, Monarch Money. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk or on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. It is Mailbag Monday. Let's get back into your Mariners questions. Stan wants to know, what would a realistic Logan Gilbert extension look like today? It kind of has to start with how many free agent years do you think the Mariners want to buy out and can realistically buy out? 3? 4?
Well, if we want to assume that this year is like just tacked on to, like, they're not tearing up his contract for this year. Like, he's going to pitch this year on his like $7.5 million, whatever he got in arbitration, or whatever they agreed to. If you just ignore this year and the extension starts next year, he has 2 years of club control left before he's a free agent. And so if you want to buy 3 years of free agency, you're giving him a 5-year extension, essentially. Well, I mean, technically a 3. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
5 years. Yeah, so we assume he's going to make 7 this year. Next year in arbitration, probably 10 to 12. Hard to say. Then the final year, probably 15 to 18. So probably $30 million roughly on Logan's side. That's what he's going to ask for those 2 ARB years. So that'd be 5 years, $114 million, give or take. Now the Mariners are going to be looking for not a bargain, but obviously to give him this contract 2 years before you have to, and to buy, to pay him top of the market money in his age 31, 32, and 33 season. You're going to have to, like, Logan's got to give something here. So I think 5 and 115 is like the max amount.
That's the Robbie Ray contract, right?
Right. It's pretty close to the Luis Castillo contract
Mhm.
as well. Castillo, of course, 1 full year closer to a year and a half closer to free agency than Logan Gilbert currently is.
Mhm.
I think of a guy like Logan Webb, who got a 5-year, $90 million extension. And that was only 2 years ago, I believe. I look at a guy like Pablo Lopez, who also got a very similar extension, although much more team friendly. So, that one's probably not a good comp, but I think Logan Webb is a pretty good comp. So I think if we kind of look at it, Webb, by the way, when he signed his extension, was 27. Gilbert will be 28 in early May.
Mhm.
So pretty close. I would say the Mariners would probably want to counter with something like 5 and 100 would be my guess.
Sure.
And so maybe 5 and 90, what Logan Webb got, but you have to adjust for inflation and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. So I think the range on a 5-year contract would be 90 to $115 million. And then it's just kind of a negotiation about how much, you want to beat Logan Webb's contract and how much does, Logan want to be here. And so, the more willing he is to leave in free agency, then the closer he's going to get to the 115. But yeah, I think this settles in pretty nicely in the 5 years, 100 million to 105, somewhere in that range would be my guess. If it is just a
Mhm.
5-year contract, obviously, if it's 6 years, 7 years, the money goes up. But on a 5-year deal, paying for a guy's age 28 through 32 seasons, yeah, I'd say 5 and 110, $22 million. Gilbert on the open market is worth 28 to $30 million. So the Mariners do save some a little bit there, and Logan
Mhm.
gets the $100 million secured and in his pocket right away, with the
Yeah.
opportunity to still hit the market at 32, 33 years old.
All right. Max wants to know, two-parter. Do you think they will give Garver DH at bats in the beginning of the year? If not, how often does he play? If he does do well in the DH role, can you see the Mariners bringing up a third catcher to have them back up Cal while Garv is DHing? Their intention in 2024. The answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes, they should. Will they?
Yeah.
I don't know. They seem hell-bent on giving Rowdy Tellez at bats, so we'll see what they do. I would give Garver opening day. I would give Garver, like I talked about, Garver would be my starting DH 15 times in the first 20 games, and then he'd catch,
Sure.
2 or 3 times.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would play Garver a lot. I want to see what I have, and Garver's upside is significantly higher than anybody else. That's you have questions about. So yeah, I would play him. I do think he'll start game 2 and game 3. Again, like I
Mhm.
said, they're both against lefties, so he's going to play
Yeah.
early anyways, just because of the matchups that are going to be presented to him. But I would be aggressive with him on righties and lefties. And yeah, if he proves that he's an everyday DH, like he is close to 2023, Mitch Garver, then they're probably going to want to take catching off his plate. At which point, goodbye, Rowdy Tellez. Hello, Blake Hunt.
Hello,
I mean,
Blake. Well, depending on how
Harry
far into the
Ford.
season we are.
Yeah, like if we're in
Yeah.
June before they pull that trigger, then maybe Harry Ford at that point, but
Yeah.
probably Blake Hunt.
John Brown's beard wants to know, would you sign up for Julio duplicating his rookie year performance for the 2025 season? Also, yes.
Like,
Or would you be willing to go in with just uncertainty, hoping that he gives you a
I'd
7
roll the
to
dice
10
that
win
he
season?
gives you more than
Okay.
that. Because it's like, hey, like how much worse than that can Julio be? Like
About
a
2
win,
wins.
maybe 2. Could he be
Yeah.
more than 2 wins better than he was in his rookie year? Yes, he could.
Yeah.
So I take that shot. Like if you told me right now, like his floor is his rookie year, like that's the year he's gonna, like, okay, yeah, that's great. But if you're telling me like that's his ceiling for 2025, I'd rather just roll the dice, I think.
But man, if I could just guarantee Julio's going to be a 6-win player this year, that's hard to pass up on. Because that would help a lot.
He was also a 5.8 win player in his second year.
Yeah,
So-
less consistent though. But if we're talking about just a repeat of his rookie year where he was pretty consistent for 5 months,
Ty's just afraid to fail.
he was a 148 WRC plus that
Doesn't
year.
want to go for glory. He just wants to just put his little money in his checking account and all that stuff.
I think I would be more than fine with just getting rookie
1.2%
Julio.
growth every year.
Dude,
just kind of live
284, 345, 509, 148 WRC plus, 5.8 F4, 28 homers, 25 steals. Yeah,
I'll roll the
I'll
dice.
I'll just take that.
Why
That's
are
fine.
you limiting Julio? Ty hates Julio confirmed.
I hate you confirmed.
People already knew that.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown. Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup. Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free. It's your team every day.
You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Got a couple more questions to go over here on Mailbag Monday. David wants to know, if you were to make a Mariners fantasy team of current players rostered on the Mariners and or former Mariners that got traded away as big leaguers or prospects, what would your rosters look like? I think the easiest way to go about this would be just to identify the guys that have departed that we would like to be on this roster.
Which isn't a lot in the grand scheme.
Ketel Marte.
Yes, Ketel Marte. Now, see, again, that one's tough because we're going like all the way. I assume we're talking Dipoto era only.
Just active players who were Mariners.
Oh, any active player who was once a Mariner. Ketel Marte at second base. Gino back at third.
Would you put Freddie Peralta over any of the 5 stars?
I was thinking about that when Freddie Peralta or Pablo Lopez.
Or Pablo Lopez, yeah.
I don't think so.
Interesting. Ooh.
Like maybe Luis. Like if you tell me Luis, definitely over Luis, I'm like, okay, I get that. That's fine. But it's like, can I get both of them into this rotation? You want me to throw out Brian Wu? Because I'm not doing that.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
I'm not throwing out Bryce. I mean, as much as I don't love George Kirby, like his poutiness and all that stuff, I do think he's a better pitcher than Lopez and Peralta. Peralta and Lopez are really good though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ketel Marte at second, Gino at third. I mean,
Chris Taylor over Mitch Haniger, sure.
I mean,
sure.
I guess, but like, you're really sad that you don't have Chris Taylor on your roster right now.
Modern day Chris Taylor, no,
and that's what we're talking. We're talking about modern day, their production in the modern day. So, no, Chris Taylor doesn't count. I don't know. You want Kendall Graveman, modern day Kendall Graveman?
I don't know what he looks like right now.
I mean, he's hurt, I think. So
yeah.
So but I think Marte and Gino, and then it's like maybe I replace Luis Castillo with
like on a very
Peralta.
minor. I'm just trying to think of all the guys that they've traded away that are actually like pretty decent to good, like on a very minor level. Tyson Miller over like one of the relievers that you have.
Which one? Like Thornton, I guess.
Sauce.
Yeah. I'm sure there's somebody we're forgetting.
Yeah. There's probably a really obvious one, and people are screaming at us right now.
Paul Sewald, maybe. But like modern day Paul Sewald, he was really bad last year.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd probably still rather have Sewald than like Bizzardo, Thornton, Sauce. So I guess maybe Sewald.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Like Ketel Marte, Gino, and then
Carlos Santana.
No, I'm fine with Rayleigh.
Yeah. But over like Solano?
I'm fine with that decision.
Okay.
Same with Turner, I
don't know if it was necessarily a decision, but yeah, sure.
Well, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Especially for the role I need Solano to play. Yeah, like Turner, I'd rather have Solano. I don't think Turner I mean, like, I guess technically Turner over Tellez. But, like, again, I would say the big ones are Marte, Gino, and then there's some pitching ones that are like, like if you want to put Freddie Peralta in over Brian Wu because of the track record, fine. But would you trade Brian Wu straight up for Freddie Peralta right now? No. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, depends on how you want to, it depends on how you kind of want to word this, but now, like, no, I can't think of anything. except for the ones we talked about.
Question for you guys down in the comments below. Would you put Pablo Lopez or Freddie Peralta over anyone in this rotation? Specifically the 4 homegrown guys?
Mm-hmm. You said maybe Luis.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like the hate on Luis has gone a little too far.
Last question of the day from Michael. What do you think about Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock sharing the load of the 5th starter? 3-ish innings each, twice to the order for both of them. Have them empty their tanks. Nah, I don't want to use the extra roster spot on getting essentially a piggyback starter on the roster. I'm
right.
good.
Do Evans or Hancock provide you value on any day but the day that they would, start? Can they help you in other days out of the bullpen? Probably not.
Yeah.
And so, again, you might say, well, Hancock only helps you once every 5 days anyways. It's like, yeah, but the 8 guys in the bullpen can help me, 2 or 3 times in those 5 days. So,
well, and I think like the way that those guys would help you out of the bullpen, Evans or Hancock, would be as long relief. And at that point, they're probably throwing 2 or 3 innings in a blowout game, and then they're not available to piggyback one another.
Yeah. Plus the Mariners haven't ever really carried, at least recently, like a true long relief type. They just usually, it's just, if they need like multiple innings, they just go to Sauce. They really do try and get guys to only go. I mean, they really don't like the relievers to go sit down and then get back up and go back out there and get more outs. Typically, once the inning ends, the reliever is done. That's the way it's operated mostly for the Mariners. So, no, I just get the ball to Evans. He's better than Hancock. Not that that's saying much, but get the ball to him. Just pick a guy and roll with it. And then just because, like, what if you're going to put one of these guys in the bullpen? That means you're sending down Legumina.
Yeah.
Or you're DFAing Bizardo. Like, I'd rather roll with those 2 guys because they have upside out of the pen. Whereas Evans and Hancock, they tried Evans in the bullpen last year. Didn't really work out that well for him. And, you also don't want, what if you get into a situation where like Brian Wu hits the IL and now, Evans hasn't remained stretched out, right? What if you need Logan Evans to just jump in? Now you're going to use an opener and 2, like you're going to try and Detroit Tigers the whole thing for an entire year. Like, nah, just stick Evans back in AA and call him up when you need him, or Hancock. I would prefer they stick Hancock in AA, but I think we all know what's going to happen there. So yeah, I just feels like a bad use of a roster spot to me.
Yeah, agreed. All right, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.